Gaming and BS episode 319 coming to you Monday, November 23rd, Kojo 2020. Welcome to Gaming and BS, the tabletop RPG podcast. I'm Sean.
And I'm Brett. Welcome to the show, folks. Welcome back. Glad you're here. For those of you who tuned in last week when I wasn't here, I apologize. I heard it was a complete debacle.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
Brett was north.
Yeah.
You got one.
Well, I had to come back to Wisconsin to get one. I did not get one in Michigan. Oh. Opening day in Wisconsin, I got a nice 8.
8-pointer.
8-point buck, Derry.
Ain't the 30-pointer, but sure it's good enough.
It sure was good enough, Derry.
Good enough. Yeah, go chop that one up and eat her, put it on the grill later tonight.
I actually ate some for lunch today. It was good.
For all you animal rights folks, you're on the wrong channel.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry. It's the thing I do.
Unless you get animal rights and hunting. And
yes.
You
could do that.
Animal conservancy, whatever.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's see here. Sean, what the hell did you talk about last time while I wasn't here? What'd you do?
Man, it was, I think I titled the show, Bash the Shit Out of Brett Hour.
I love it.
No,
good. No, that's, I wouldn't know.
I was updating the group on Curse of Strahd is officially delayed and canned for the most part.
Oh. You and I talked. I'm up to speed on that.
Yes.
But you share whatever you wish.
So I canceled December session. Yeah, that was last week. They're like, get on. Like, so I canceled December session. I may not regroup with it. That's fine. And so that was that. And then I did Foundry demo, which
cool.
Kind of went half-ass, unfortunately.
Oh, that's too bad.
And then that was it. For gaming, I haven't gamed this week at all. No, zero games at all.
Same here. I did not get much done. However, while I was up in Michigan, wandering around Cedar Swamp, wishing I could see something I could shoot and eat, I was thinking about Sean, of all weird things.
What?
Some about shooting and eating stuff. Anyway, what I thought about was, hey, man, things are... The way my life is getting reorganized now, I have a Tuesday game with my regular group, but I don't have a Thursday game going. So I think I'm rapidly getting to a spot where I could run Thursdays for like you and some BSers and stuff. So I think I'm getting to a spot where I could do that pretty quick. I just want to figure out this whole moving component. And then my surgery got pushed out because of COVID and the hospitals are full. So I don't know when that'll get scheduled, but
yeah, you might want to like move and have surgery and all that stuff first.
But I mean, we could do a one shot or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So there's opportunities there.
So having said that, on the gaming front, the Brett and Sean gaming front, announcement.
Yes.
It's very uneventful at the end of that.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to run, for sure, a one-shot of Alice is Missing, and I have some BSers that are interested. And for those that are not into story-based games, it's probably not your jam, and that's okay. But it seems like an intriguing game. We're going to play it on Discord. I'm going to get Cthulhu, and he's going to get me some Roll20 access because he's got it there, and it'll make it easier for cards flipping. And then I got some BSers that are interested. I think we got 5 for sure. So I'm going to run that. I got to just coordinate schedules so I can get some folks into that. And then I'm going to run Star Wars Fantasy Flight Games.
Nice.
Age of Rebellion and Edge of the Empire. So you're like, what? Both? You're crazy, Sean. You're nuts.
I was thinking that. Yeah, a little bit. You got a plan? You have a plan?
I kind of do.
Oh.
Kind of.
We've kind of had plans before. We'll see how this one goes.
I say either because it's going to be one shots or it's going to be 4-hour scenarios, and if we get done in one night, great. If we don't, then we do it in 2 nights.
You're thinking like a quasi Kawazi West Marches thing where you go adventure to adventure? Or
No West Marches.
Okay.
Drop in, drop out, because there's a difference.
Got it. Yes, there is.
Right? Somebody's like, oh, West Marches. And I'm like, no, not West Marches, because West Marches would be more, hey, you all figure it out. You let me know when to game and where you want to go and what you want to do. And that's not kind of going to be the case. I'm going to dictate that as a game master. I'm just going to run a scenario, but it will be, hey, what 5 people are interested in playing on Thursday night? What 5 people are running Tuesday?
That's kind of what I was thinking of doing as well. Of like, hey, I've got time this Thursday. I'm thinking about running one shot, throw it up on the Gaming BS forums. Who's in? Set up a Zoom call. Bam, done. Right. Cool.
So I'm going to do that. I'll put it out. I have to. So there is a great, I don't know if it's great, but there is a very solid organized play group that is out on the web that has, like, I think there's probably 25 to 30 scenarios. Cool. They have the rules on, like, character creation. Like, here's the character creation. Like, here's the kind of house rules. And so it really does help me with just, like, all right, here, read this, go by this. And then most of them are going to be Age of Rebellion, but they're going to be one-shots. But that doesn't mean people can't create Edge of the Empire, and then you bring a character in, I'm going to run it, and then once it's done, and then rinse, repeat. I'll probably run some of the same scenarios, so if people want to get them all checked off, and then I'm just going to run that. Now, the only problem I foresee happening is if I put this out to patrons and BS or community, and I don't get 5 people or 4 to 5, that are interested in Star Wars, because some people may like, hey, Star Wars isn't my jam. Well, then I might have a problem, and then I might have to hang it up. But we'll see.
Hey, gotta try something, man.
So that's on my docket to kick out, and that'll be at least every other week for sure. I don't know what night, and I don't know what time yet.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing. You didn't game this week, Brett?
No, not at all. As I said, I'm thinking what I'm going to do is try to figure out some Thursday one-shot action that I can pull together. Yeah. I think it'd be fun, and I'm going to need it. If nothing else, it's a good stress reliever, a 2-3 hour, 4-hour session. Whew, that was fun. We, killed the Goblin King. We did this thing. We saved whomever, did the thing, and off we go. So,
well, this would be nice. Yeah.
Call Cthulhu adventures I can run, Trail of Cthulhu stuff. So,
yeah, man.
There's some good shit we can pull together. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. And I think I find it hard to believe nobody would play Star Wars for a little while, because there's no obligation. There's no commitment.
Well, if nothing else, it's a good idea. It's a good way to try that system. We've talked about it a long time ago in the past. I've had a lot of fun with it. The funky dice, the whole bit. It's fun. It's a fun narrative approach to that game. I think it fits the Star Wars genre very well.
And it fixes the problems I'm having with 5e and Curse of Strahd. It's Star Wars, so I'm not gonna get too gritty. It's Star Wars. Bring your Star Wars face.
Yep.
It's mortality isn't overly excessive, so it allows people to do more things, and they can fail because it's part of the mechanics.
You're playing the Star Wars genre. You're not taking a game like that D&D is itself and then modding it in some way to fit a genre, right? You're not taking a toolbox game and saying, I'm going to play gothic horror with it. And one of the things you ran into was some people like, well, D&D for me is X, and you're trying to play X minus 10, and that's not my D&D type of thing. No, I like it. It's a way to... We've talked about this before, too. Certain games really fit... They're kind of niche games in a way. They really fit the genre. They fit the IP really well. And some of those... When you sign up for it, the preconceived notions you have, you're 90% there. So that's cool. That's very good, man. I like the idea.
So that's it. That's all I have on my end.
Cool. Announcement-wise, you're giving away something? Is that true?
So we have 3 codes for exploring Eberron. And if you are interested... Yeah, Nola Bird, I'm dressed up tonight. What can I say, man? I'm going to give
a banana.
I'm giving a copy. I'm giving a copy away to... There we go. I'm giving a copy away to people on our email list. So if you are interested, I will put a link. If you're not on our email list, by all means, get on there. And if you are automatically entered to win. But if you are wanting to, if you're not an Eberron fan and you just want to know more about it, it's free PDF. It's by Keith Baker, the creator of Eberron. came out with a 5 ebook with Exploring Eberron. There's a lot of flavor. There are some mechanics in it, but you can use it for a setting. And so we'll be giving one away. Drawing probably at the end of December for at least one, maybe in the middle for Christmas, and you can give it away if you want. But I'll put a link in the show notes for people to enter their email. And if you're not sure if we do have your email, go ahead and put it back in. I think it'll kick it out if it's a duplicate. But.
Cool.
So that's it for announcements.
Yeah, nothing else I know of offhand. I know EverCon. I've mentioned this before, evercon.org. They are going virtual. So it's January when the game is happening, so check it out. Or when the con is happening, so check it out. They're going virtual this year. Simply, it's the right thing to do in the time. And I also, if I remember correctly, GaryCon has already said no GaryCon in person.
Oh, they've already.
I believe it has been said. If somebody out there hears this when this drops, and I am wrong, I apologize, but I believe they've already said, look, the way we're at right now in Wisconsin, there's no way we're going to be allowed to have that many people in a place. So,
Sergeant Dan did an in real life face-to-face con.
Nice.
That guy's crazy. He's a Marine, though.
Yeah. Well, Jesus, he's crazy. He's bulletproof.
Yeah.
He's a Marine.
Yeah.
So speaking of craziness, my buddy, one of my gamers' wives just came down with COVID. She works at a bank and happened to
banks, man.
Protocols, loan officer, didn't matter. Something happened, something got through, type of thing. So, and there's other folks out there that are gamer friends of ours that have had family losses due to it, and we've had other gamers we know. And I'm not going to call everybody out here because it's personal and private. If you want to say something, folks, obviously
I should put it out on Twitter.
Yeah. If you put it out on Twitter, different problem. But Kev Thulu, good close personal friend of the show, Kevin went through and is still kind of trying to kick through the COVID stuff. He mentioned it on Twitter and whatnot. So be safe, people. Honestly, I want to see you guys at a con. All of you men and women and folks that listen to us, every one of you, want to see you all at some point. So be safe, be smart. Stay alive.
I think most of us can lick it. The problem is if we don't feel well, we're going to go to the hospital, and they're getting fucking slammed.
Well, this is why my surgery got pushed out. My surgeon called me on my drive back from Michigan. She's like, "Hey, Brett, want to get it right from the horse's mouth? It's an overnight, quote unquote, elective. We got to push it out because they need the beds." I'm like, I get it. That is what it is. Just keep me drugged up on the otherwise.
Just imagine going to a restaurant that you want to get into, and the line is around the corner. Oh, here, no, hold on. Let me appeal to gamers. There's a gaming convention event that you want to go to, that the best, greatest game master in the world, whoever that may be in your brain, is running a game, and they're going to let everybody in this big, huge hall, and you're in line, and it's a huge, 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 huge line. And if you don't go in there, your life depends on it. It's like this. Imagine that's the case. Only you can't breathe.
Yeah.
And you're waiting to get in the auditorium.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It's brutal.
All right. Let's get into Random Encounter.
Sweet, man. Let's move it on.
Random Encounter. Segments that covers emails, voicemails, comments from social media and listeners. The first one, Corey Welch, friend of the show, does an online charity event every year. Not every year, ever since this has occurred. It's I will let the audio speak for itself.
Go for it, man. Corey's a good dude. Hit us.
Crawl for the Cure.
Yes, Crawl for the Cure.
In December 2018, the gaming community tragically lost a good friend, Jerry Stefik, to cancer. An avid gamer, history buff, reenactor, and father, his love of family, friends, and his hobbies was always evident. Through the Jerry Stefik Memorial Crawl for the Cure 2020, his friends in the Midwest will perform mighty deeds to do good in his name, with proceeds going to the American Cancer Society for research and patient assistance. Join us on Twitch channel DCC_Mayhem on Saturday, December 12th. From 10 a.m. Central through midnight, watch games of DCC, D&D 5th Edition, Dark Trails, and Castles and Crusades. When donating, you can make in-game suggestions to be the boon or chaos for our troop of players. Make it wild and watch the insanity unfold. Plus, hourly RPG, PDF raffles for our donors from our awesome sponsors. Goodman Games, Purple Sorcerer Games, Stiff Whiskers Press, Gamehole Publishing, and Troll Lord Games. Check out our site for more details at, one word, crawlforthecure.net. Quest on, crawlers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if you guys can make that, great. If you go to Crawl for the Cure, I'm sure there might be methods to support the cause. Great. That's a great cause. Thanks, Corey, for doing that. I'm sure a lot of people appreciate it. Thanks for the sponsors that have also contributed to the show, like Purple Sorcerer Games.
No, it's good stuff. That whole crew, the Troll Lord guys, so I've bumped into them at every con I go to, and always friendly, super nice. I can stop by the booth and just bullshit with them for like a half hour. It's just fun, you know. That everybody on that list is fun. And Corey Welch, just a damn stand-up dude and a great game master. So that's really awesome.
Yeah,
very cool.
All right, email.
Let's move on, man. You read.
All right. DM Kojo. Oh, God. If he talks about winning and losing in RPGs, I'll tell you, this guy.
Oh, well, let's see what we got.
Failure is always an option.
Ooh, let's see what we get here.
Yeah, right.
Kojo's a smart man. Let's see what this is worth listening to.
There are two main reasons why I tune into your podcast week in and week out. One, because you always have topics and discussions that make me reflect on myself as a gamer.
Oh, that's cool, man. Thank you. That's actually very high praise.
It is. And two, because I'm always excited to hear how Sean pronounces 2020 each week. Slid that in at the beginning for you, Kojo.
That's very nice.
Your recent conversation about failure in RPGs got me thinking. First off, I respect that all gamers will not like the same style of gaming, and that is great. This note is in no way meant to judge how other people play, but to explain my thoughts on it.
Fair enough.
Personally, I feel that failure is an important part of the RPGs that I like to play, even if that failure is due to unlucky dice rolls. I feel that it is important for myself and my players to embrace that failure is going to happen and that it can still be fun. Just a note, he may or may not say it, but he runs Edge of the Empire.
That's right, he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, Of late, I mostly run convention one-shots and for games for my kids. In con games, failure isn't seen as a big deal because it isn't a campaign.
Very true.
For my kids, I have set the expectation that there will be nights when things go badly in the game, and that is okay. PCs will die, tears will be shed, and the story marches on. When I previously had gaming groups that I was running campaigns for, failure was not considered unpleasant because my players and I had that expectation set in session 0. If I rolled up a character with a strength of 3, I embraced it and made that an interesting facet of their personality. When a player rolls way too low on their to-hit roll, I narratively describe how inept their attack was and make it a fun part of the story. If your character fails a save or die poison saving throw, I describe how they bravely saved their comrades from a gruesome death and died heroically. I don't see failures in the game as a reason not to be having fun. Basically, failure is always narrative in my games because that's how I describe it. That way, failure is never seen as a boring, you miss again affair. Even the misses are fun. Therefore, I want failure to be a part of my games, and I tend to avoid games where failure is rare. The exception is Fantasy Flight game Star Wars, although I do wish that game was more lethal for PCs. See,
I like it.
I always encouraged power gamers from playing...
Discourage.
Oh, my God. I always discourage power gamers for playing in my games. I don't like to run for players who want to optimize their characters so as to prevent failures. That kind of gaming drives me nuts, but I know many players enjoy that. Recognizing that, I have always told players that if that is the type of game they want to play, my table may not be the best fit. But if you want a game where failure happens, often in spectacular narrative fashion, then I'm the GM for you. Keep on gaming on, DM Kojo.
I like this. There's some really good stuff in here, Kojo. Thank you very much. Sean, of course, doesn't. But I love the fact, this is the type of games you run. You make this very clear. And Sean, this talks a little bit to some of what you've talked about with gaming. And, you don't want the power gaming building to never fail and so forth and so on.
I
And
don't mind it. I don't mind it if that's the game. If that is like if I were playing, if I were running Eberron, right? Kind of like, hey, it's pulpy, it's got noir, and it's you're flying down freaking lightning rails, and you're like James Bond.
Correct. But
yeah, man, go nuts.
If you're playing
crazy,
stick to the genre, right? Is what you're saying. You're trying to emulate a genre here, folks, right? And if you're trying to hit to, at least Sean is in this case, right? If you're trying to go gothic horror, like, look, weird, crazy things. Don't build a gothic horror character to be Batman. It's not really, that doesn't fit. You know, you're not Superman. Gotham horror, like, a little different. Right?
Kind of close. But
you don't have to, you get the point. So I like this, Kojo. I think you explain yourself very well, and I love the fact you're talking about descriptive narrative failure, because there is something. I think we touched on this, but I love the way you bring this up. Is the boring? You miss again. You don't do any damage. You can't hit. That shit is fucking. It's not unnerving. It's just boring, unfun, and can be just. It can wreck your whole evening, right? Or at least if you fail, but you fail in a goofy or even a seriously odd way that, like, yes, you failed, but you failed so spectacularly, the next guy gets advantage on his attack. Or the bad guy's tied up. He can't do anything else because he's just staring at you. He can't believe you just did what you did. So that type of narration, I think, is awesome. So that takes that failure component and turns into something that's an FFG Star Wars thing, Sean, right? Where it's a very descriptive approach to things. So I like it. I think this is good stuff. Thanks, Kojo. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks, Kojo. 2020!
All right. Kyle mentioned us on Bookface. Since you seem to enjoy the last dispatch from my current campaign, I thought I would update you on the outcome of the encounter and propose a topic. Ooh, here we go. Get my notes going. After being shamed into fighting a forest fire with no rest and little spell power left, my PCs found themselves, as predicted, fighting a powerful warlock of Yenago and his demon minions in the middle of a raging fire. Yenago happens to be the powerful warlock, the demon lord of gnolls and trolls. So, at least gnolls, for sure. The battle involved the druid polymorphing into a giant gorilla and flinging a demon into an inferno, and the warlock plane shifting out to fight another day. The big twist, however, came when a mob of treants arrived after the battle to help subdue the fire. After everything was under control, a dozen treants decided to have words with our heroes. A thoughtful discussion ensued regarding their fate. The wise ancient forest protectors decided that, since the fight that caused the fire was a result of PCs bringing their enemies into the woods, the easiest solution would be to rip the PCs apart so demonic forces would have no reason to come back. That's a damn good reason. An impromptu trial occurred where the PCs bribing, begging, and bluffing their way out of being dismembered. Meanwhile, a group of quote-unquote refugees were arguing that the PCs had actually set the fires with their recklessness. These refugees were, of course, the Jack-aware henchmen of the warlock in their human forms. Very nice. The PCs managed not to screw up and avoided being torn apart by treants, but they wound up being kicked out of the forest. The punk kids at a club with a fake ID. The forest, incidentally, occupies about a third of their home region and borders the boundaries of their stronghold on 3 sides. What had me thinking about this was to use quote-unquote friendly monsters as adversaries. A lot of real estate in monster tomes is taken up by quote-unquote friendly creatures, and they often get glossed over. I'm interested in how other folks work with them. Thanks for all the work, and thanks for turning me on to Mothership, although my first attempt to run the game is a fiasco for another day. Kyle, I like the idea. I like the topic idea, too, where you take a friendly and make that friendly a confrontation. We've talked a little bit, Sean, about, not every conflict is a fight and, social conflicts and so forth. But I like this idea that Kyle has about using friendly creatures kind of as, not as combatants, but as adversaries, somebody who's got a different point of view. When I think about your Star Wars idea, I think about some of the Star Wars movies I've seen over the years where, Han Solo, spoilers, at the beginning wasn't all that big on being a hero. What? And that type of stuff. So, kind of cool. I like it. Yoda being a bit of a jerk to Luke at the beginning. That type of thing.
Evil is all perspective.
Well, it can be.
One evil guy is another one's good guy.
Quite possibly. I like it. Thanks, Kyle, though. That's good stuff, man. I think I'm going to throw that in there.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. All right, that wraps it up for Random Encounter. Let's go into the main topic, shall we, Brett?
Let's move.
All right, let's do that. All right, Brett. Brett is going to talk about how he's playing AD&D and going to dick it all up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm back, right? So I had a week off, so now I got to hog the mic again for about an hour. So buckle up, kids. So one of the things that got
so
me,
Brett, you're going to run an AD&D game.
Yeah. So you know why I wanted to do this?
Why? Tell me why,
Because
Brett.
of you.
Shut your face off.
I'm dead serious. My friends and I have been talking about, I talked a while back about how I wanted to make my own version of D&D, cobble together bits and pieces, and basically take all my homebrew and turn it into a thing. In the process of figuring that out, one of the things that Sean had mentioned is, are you sure your group likes all of that stuff? I'm like, huh, interesting. And the guys really like Greyhawk as a first edition setting. I haven't done it in a while. Listen to Forrest and Gary on Twitter talking about his Greyhawk game. Like, man, that'd be fun to do again. And then Sean started complaining about 5e to me, about how the skills, like I'd like to play 5e without the skills, Brett. I'd like to stop having people, excuse me, do I roll perception, I roll this, I roll that, I got a 15, let me know what I learned. You want the narration and so forth in your D&D. And I thought, one of the best games I have for that is first edition AD&D, for me anyway, because there are no skill lists. And the reason I'm only using Player's Handbook, the DMG, Monster Manual 1, 2, and the Fiend Folio. I'm not using Unearthed Arcana, no Wilderness or Dungeon or Survival Guides where there are skills. No Oriental Adventures, none of that. Kind of going to that core set of books. And I'm like, it'll be interesting to see, to a couple points of Sean. One, how does my group do while we play D&D? In my World of Darkness game, if I run it and we don't roll dice a lot, they talk and they really narrate. They say, well, I got 5 points in this. I think I would know. Or we play Amber, diceless. People do fine. But as soon as I put D&D in front of them, they grab that D20 and just shake it all night long. They want to throw that D20, right? Like, I wonder how they'll do when we don't have... That was probably a horrible gesture. People made fun of me. No. Okay. So I figured let's see, because Sean asked the question of me off the mic. She's like, you think they actually want to do that? I'm like, I think they do. Let's see.
Who would want to play that damn game?
Yeah, a couple people.
I don't know.
But if nothing else, it was kind of a sneaky way, if you will, for me to play test a couple ideas I had around Brett's version of D&D, cobbling this thing together, and to see if the stuff I believe that they really like in first edition, they will enjoy. So it's been interesting. We have one player who really has a hard time understanding that if you don't have heroic stats, quote unquote, i.e. lots of stuff 16 and higher, not remembering that, if you have a 15 in intelligence, you don't just get a blanket +3 or +2 on everything intelligence related. And that it works differently. The mechanics are different. So getting people over the mechanics has been interesting. But one of the things I am finding, Sean, is that without the skill list, a couple people were stymied. They were like, because we've been playing so much Pathfinder, right?
Oh, yeah.
Pathfinder,
that's
3,
two
5.
dynamics there.
Yeah, and then 5e a lot. They're like, yeah, but I normally would do this. Well, what the hell? So using that wonderful rulings versus rules thing that DCC pulls out, one of the things I've learned with my crew here is that to get them to narrate stuff, all that shit I've talked about for like the last 6 years or whatever, Sean, where we said, if you give me a good narration, I'll give you a bonus or give you something. As soon as they realize that actually fucking worked and there's no skills and they're solely relying on getting a bonus by how well they describe something to me, it works. So for example, Nick's character is a cleric. First level cleric, he knows they're outmatched, they're outgunned. They're in a little siege situation in this inn. It's winter. There's a necromancer with an undead horde. No one can count the numbers. It's storming. It's crazy outside. They're trying to figure out, are they skeletons? Are they zombies? What's going on? So the innkeeper dies. Somebody else gets killed, an NPC. They kind of get their asses kicked. They flee back into the inn. And Nick pulls everyone together and says, okay, look, whatever gods of good you believe in, we need to get together and pray. And he tells me, he goes, what he's doing, I said, that's cool. That's very good. He goes, Brett, just so you know, I'm trying to do something to get all these people rallied around me. I want to improve their morale by having them pray. I'm like, ooh, I like that. So now these folks in the inn, I basically boost their morale. They'll totally help you. They start offering up assistance. Oh, I have a potion of healing that I was saving for later. You guys look like you could need that right now. The wizard who's sequestered himself upstairs, who doesn't want to deal with any of this crap, he's willing to help them out because of the work that they're doing. So they're gaining edges. When they get into combat, they start playing sneaky as shit because they realize that the hit matrix is different for everybody. I tell them flat out what the AC is. I'm like, look, it's a 8 armor class. It's a 10 armor class. I just tell them what it is, so it's easier for them to find it. We roll faster this way. And they're like, well, I want to try to sneak around him. and the first thing Alpha does is he's a thief, so he grabs the dice and he rolls his percentile for sneak, hide, stalk. Oh, it's not so good. I said, dude, don't worry. Don't think about it that way. What are you trying to do? Well, I want to circle wide. I said, are you willing to waste 2 turns to gain an advantage? Yes, I am. Perfect. Don't roll the dice. He blows 2 turns, hooking through the snow, come up behind them, wham! And that's when he learned you can't backstab undead in first edition for backstab damage. Surprise! But he did damage it, and then the creature turns around and goes, what? And I said, well, you surprised the zombie. So it's kind of like on 2 fronts here. Zombies always go last. So what I did was, because the zombie, stupid creature, couldn't quite get it out, I gave each of them a flank bonus. I'll give you +2 on each of your attacks because you creatively figured out a way to stymie this stupid undead.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. Right, you're crazy. You're so crazy.
I know, over the top.
You're nuts, man.
But I'm telling you, man, by doing that, for me anyway, one of the things that really did for my group, as I said, when I run Call of Cthulhu, World of Darkness, Trail of Cthulhu, any other game system that I pull out with my game group, when I ran Delta Green or whatever, they look at the character sheet like, yeah, okay, this tells me basically what I'm capable of doing, but they narrate the crap out of it. Well, when it comes to D&D, and I think this has been kind of, we've hardwired this into our brains, in my group anyway, with Pathfinder and a couple other of those, even with 5e, well, I want advantage or I want disadvantage on the skill roll or that check. And I use pickpockets, or I use sleight of hand or whatever the key is, right? The thieves love the fact that they have these special skills. They can pick pockets. They can disarm traps. They can do this. They suck at it at first level, right? But they think it's cool. They try it whenever they get a chance because they want to. And then because the thief does stuff and wants to narrate it to me, so when Zave's character is doing something, he narrates how he's trying to cause a distraction so he can go pick up this feather that's fallen. He doesn't want anyone to see it. He wants to do a little quick sleight of hand, grab this thing so no one notices it in the bar because there's a big huckabuck, stuff's going on, people moving around. The narration is really driving. Then I give him a bonus for it. Or I just say, done. That's plenty of distraction. No one, you're fine. You got it. You picked it up. Because it's inconsequential. It's more fun for the story to move forward for him to have that feather because of its properties, right? And instead of having to figure out how do you find out if the one NPC is lying to you, you don't do a discern lies. You don't do a, is he fucking lying to me check, or a, whatever that is, the bullshit test. Is like,
we need that as a skill on a sheet. Bullshit test.
The bullshit test. Actually, that's a skill in BS detector in Gumshoe.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but it was fun to have him go, well, how do I know? I'm like, you don't. What do you think? Well, can I make a wisdom check? I said, I guess. I said, sure, if you want to roll under your wisdom, I've got a number. Let's see what you want to do. I said, but it's not going to answer you. You're not going to get a definitive answer just by rolling die. And I think one of the pieces I'm learning from here is that when I'm running 5e, I try to bring that in. Or when I run Pathfinder, I try to bring it in. But there's something in that fantasy world, in that version of D&D, that says, if I roll a number, and after the modifiers, it beats the DC, the difficulty class, I win. I get it. I automatically, I rolled a 20. Plus the 5, I got a 25. So unless the DC's like 30, man, I got it. it just it stops some of the narration for whatever reason with my group, and I think you've had this with your groups as well. Is that it's slow? The desire to roll a skill check or to do something like that to shortcut some of the narration and the descriptive components is it just really jumps out at people. So anyway, I'm really pleased with that.
But Brett,
yes, Sean,
there are some players that are not good diplomacy people. They're not. They may not even be smarter than their character.
That's quite possible. Yeah.
So when you look at skills,
I'm looking at you, Lenny. Lenny's not smart in his character. He exactly doesn't, so I can mock him when he's not listening.
Hi, Lenny.
Anyway, carry on. So what I do when that person can't narrate?
Yeah, well, you're talking to the NPC. Go ahead, talk. Go ahead, tell. Go ahead, talk.
For the people,
hey, would you like to join us? You look pretty worthy.
So for the people that don't want to get in the character like that, right? So I got guys like Lenny and Nick are like, they're in. They love that shit. Lenny especially, he does theater. He jumps at it. Yeah. Now Alpha, on the other hand, is quieter. And he does a little bit of that, but not as much. Dave does a touch, but depending on the situation, he's not very comfortable with it. So what I do with those guys and with other people, and I'm realizing this really works well with this system, at least the way I'm running it right now with the crew, is when they start, I say, okay, do you know what you want to say? And if they go, I'm like, or how? What are you trying to accomplish? Well, what I'm trying to do, Brett, is I want to create a distraction. I don't know how to describe this. I want to distract people using this pot and pan so that they look at the noise, and then I want to get them looking over there for the second or two that I know it'll take me to get that feather. Okay, Dave, that makes sense. So basically, you're setting up kind of a loud, like somebody. The waiter drops the tray. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Perfect. So you want to trip the guy when he comes by? I do a joint narration with them. So they give me the idea, and then I add the color to it. So you want to make noise, like pots and pans falling? Yeah. So when the serving boy comes by, you want to poke him, trip him a little bit when he's make a mess. No, I don't want to cause a big fight or anything. How about when he's got empty cups? Oh, that'll work. So the empty cups and plates will hit the floor. It'll be loud. Everyone will look at him. Yes, perfect, Brett. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Sounds good. Sometimes I give the idea after, based on the high level that they give me, I narrow down into a narration for them. They say, oh, not quite. How about? And then we work it together. Kind of a writer's table exercise, if you will. I like the idea of X. How do I make that work? So that's what I'm doing, Sean. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and the whole point of that question, inquiry, was because some people go with the player, the good player aspect. Like it takes to be a good player to play some of those games.
I think for me, I agree in a way, right? You need to be a good player, right?
Player skill.
Player skill. I want to play with good players. And to me, a good player is somebody who can explain to me what they want to do. Do they do it in character, or they do it third person, or they do it as an omniscient narrator? What I'm seeing is if I had a camera at this angle, I want to see, I don't care how you do it, just explain it to me, and then we can work it in together. And I find for me, with my group, and I found this at cons too, is the people who are very into doing it in character, boom, they light up the stage. They jump up and they're ready to go. And when other people, if you don't give them the option, and when you see somebody start to flounder a little bit, if you don't step in and say, let me help you, not using those words, because to me, that's condescending. If Sean's having a hard time, I go, Sean, let me help you narrate this, because obviously you're not as good as Lenny. Ooh. That's if you were one of my friends I've known for 30 years, yeah, I'll make fun of you. That's fun to do. That's the shit we do at the table. But at a convention game, or when I don't know you and we're getting together and I see somebody who's trying to narrate something, like, okay, what are you trying to accomplish? Let's make sure we're clear here, because I don't want to fuck up the bonus, or I want to make sure you get the maximum out of this. What is it that you're really trying to do? And have that quick back and forth. Everybody's in. I have found then too, even at con games, whenever on Avalon, when somebody's not stumbling, but they're having a hard time narrating, they describe something. I said, so you're looking for this. And I'm like, that sounds kind of cool. What do you guys think? And I look at the table. What do you all think? That sounds cool, I say right out of the gate. That person's doing a cool thing. They're trying. They're engaging with the story. That sounds cool. I'm thinking that should warrant a bonus, yeah? And I look around. What that does is everybody else goes, yeah, oh yeah. Even if they don't necessarily like what that person has described, didn't pay attention to it or whatever, they hear the DM say, I think that warrants a bonus on that roll. What do you think? Well, yeah. Right? Everybody suddenly pays attention. This person's doing something important and helps to draw them in. That's what I'm doing. Or trying to do. I probably don't do it perfect every time. I am mortal and fallible. But that's what I'm trying to do. And I think, Sean, quite frankly, when you talked to me when I was in between being in the woods and eating dinner at night before I passed out from just being exhausted, and you mentioned the Star Wars Fantasy Flight Games thing, I think that reminds me a lot of the Fantasy Flight stuff that we did. Because we'd have the, I want to say advantages and disadvantages. There's, what are they? The failures and wins and big wins.
Success, failure, triumph.
Yes.
Setback.
Super triumph
dice.
or whatever's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think those dice, that approach, also made for a quasi-writer's table approach. Sometimes it was very easy for us when we were playing with Kevin and Austin and some of the guys also be like, hey, this is what I have. Boom. We're like, oh, that's awesome. And sometimes someone at the table would be like, wow, that's way better than I thought it would be. I've got like these 18 super successes and nothing bad. I don't even know how to make this that good. Right? And I distinctly remember you helping me a couple times. Like, is this really, I want this with this. Is that bad enough? Because this looks like a super failure versus a regular failure. Is that, how do we work this here? And then you say, well, close, but, and I think that speaks to me, how the way you did that. And I think I've taken part of that in my head is from like, that type of approach for narration and working the group. It's something I think I've done naturally for a number of years. But after doing it with you and watching you do the FFG Star Wars stuff, it started to codify a little bit more in my head. I'm like, that is a good skill to have. And I think some game systems seem to allow or either directly do, like Fantasy Flight does, right? It's in the cards, it's in the dice, excuse me. You have to do that, right? That's how it's built.
Yeah.
But a game that doesn't have any skills, like your AD&D without the other stuff, or even a BX game, the red box stuff, there's no skills and so forth. Or DCC even. I think that piece, that skill is really useful in those games. I think it's really useful. And that's one of the key pieces for me that I'm really learning from this is that my ability to source the table, work with the group, help them figure out to explain what they want to do. We're going to play again tomorrow. And I'll tell you, after 2 sessions, the group is really hitting their stride. It was only 2 sessions the first one was a little clunky as we kind of figured it out. Second session, though, everybody was like, oh, I need to tell Brett this thing because I want a bonus, or I want to be able to inflict something, or I want to do this thing. I'm willing to take a negative in order for X to occur. It's really starting to pay off. So Brett, I think it's pretty cool.
Why didn't you just play OSC, man? You could do some of what you're doing in like BX or something. Why AD&D? Like AD&D, are you playing like weapon speed and segments and
so we
that cool stuff, man? It's like AD&D, cool man.
I made sure that they have to be able to list at least 10 pole arms to be in the group. If they can't list 10 pole arms, they can't tell the difference.
Man, that's big damage.
Yeah, halberd and a fletchered fork versus a Bohemian ear spoon. If you can't tell,
hammer, looser, and 1d12, if I'm not mistaken.
Hammer. Yeah. So I'm not doing that, but we are doing I'm not going for the classic Brett gritty dark, which is actually tough for me to do. I'm going for an AD&D feel of Greyhawk. Like I reread my Greyhawk first edition books. Like, okay, there's magic here. So the guys are finding magic stuff. And I'll tell you, man, the other piece I'm learning in AD&D, and one of the things that my group has bemoaned about 5e and even Pathfinder was the magic items are just meh. Your character is where the power is, right? You level up, and that's where you get stuff. And my group misses the gear, the cool gear.
Man, I don't know. We gave out a lot of magic items when we were kids, and it wasn't always Monty Hall campaign. Like we didn't.
No, but
we didn't
you
like
could have.
But
you could have.
It wasn't
+1
uncommon to
swords.
have +2 swords at second level.
Yes. So the guys are finding like, oh, this staff, it raises undead. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, this thing, it does that. They found a finger bone that someone claims is from Nirul, the Reaper, this god. They're like, I can't be that. They don't know what they got. But they're finding magic stuff and like, ooh, this is really neat. And I'm pulling in, I wanted to do Greyhawk, and I wanted to do it with first edition because that's how a lot of the guys remembered Greyhawk. And it's just kind of a nostalgia piece.
Sure.
For the group. And it was, anyway, that's kind of the other thing that the guys liked was the variable, believe it or not, variable leveling up tracks.
Ah.
You have the linear, I think Monty Cook called it linear fighter and quadratic wizards. It takes, the fighters kind of go, the thieves advance faster, the wizards take longer, their growth chart is different. I am actually awarding experience points. Instead of doing how many monsters did you kill, doing the actual math and figure 1 gold equals 1 XP, I'm not doing that.
No.
What I am doing, though...
Come on, man. You're not even playing AD&D anymore.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things I am doing, though, is I look at the critters, I figure out I do some quick math and say, okay, this session was worth 1,500 experience points. Or it was worth 15,000 XP. I divide that then by the number of people, and I say, hey, it's so many. And Lenny missed the first session, so he's, I think, 750 XP behind. He's like, yep, that's how it ought to work. It's AD&D. I missed a session. I don't get the XP. Carry on. And it was interesting when Zave leveled up. His thief goes, oh, I'm second level. What do I get for that? That's it. I said, yeah, but because the level up isn't like this huge, oh, I get a stat bump into this. He's like, well, how do I improve my stats? I said, go find a magic item that helps you do it. Yeah, good luck, kid.
I think leveling up was hit points and saving throws may or may not have changed.
No, some of that doesn't change until, depending, 3rd or 4th level. Your hit matrices and so forth don't change
and
much.
I think that was it. Otherwise, unless you were a thief.
Your thieving skills go
or
up.
A spell, right.
Spellcasters may come up.
I think that was it.
But this is where they're like, gear is really cool, and that's kind of fun. They have this reason to go dig into holes and find out what the Sului's empire may have left behind, right? Or what's over here, what's over there. I could really use that. We've encountered something we can't stop. Boy, I sure wish I had a +2 blade type of thing, right? They really like it. And
when's the last time they played? Because I thought you've run AD&D within the last 5 years.
I have. I ran Osric a while back in Avalon. And I did not have this whole group. Kevin was there, Austin was in it, and a couple other folks, but I have a slightly different mix of players now. Nick is newer back to the group. Lenny wasn't in that one due to life crap that got in the way. So it's kind of, this is not a Brett's setting type of thing. It's Greyhawk. And it's been a very long time since any of us have done this in this way. Alpha ran a 2nd edition adventure a while back, and I should say I have run White Plume Mountain back years ago. Austin and Kevin were in this one as well. We're at Lenny's place, and characters died left, right, and center from stupid mistakes and instant super tetanus, as I've talked about before. But that was kind of a one-shot. Now it's a campaign. How are we going to do this? What are we going to do? They're trying to figure things out. So it's going to be interesting. They're having fun.
There is an interesting show on Twitch I've dropped in on that. I cannot for the life of me remember. I'd have to look it up. But that's their thing is Greyhawk. It's all they talk about. They've had all the living Greyhawk people on there that knew all the Greyhawk lore and everything. I think they've even had Eric Moan on there, which was
nice.
One of the first living Greyhawk guys. I think he might have actually came up with that campaign. But they are like I have the box set. I had the big map on my wall growing up. I still have that map.
Oh yeah,
but
it's right over there.
Could not tell you.
It's in a box over here somewhere. Actually,
could not tell you one thing about Greyhawk other than the classic Mordenkainen and
the
Bigsby
Reign of Colorless Fire, the Backlonish and Sului's War.
I don't know any of that shit. Realms, I'm kind of because they stick that in every damn thing they publish now. But
yeah.
Greyhawk is kind of, even though growing up during that era, it's still kind of an enigma to me. I mean, we just ran through adventures.
Well, you guys,
because you picked
up a module and you ran.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the other thing that I haven't implemented yet, and I need to do it, is, and this is a nod to Tim DeShane, when he ran us through Astonishing Swordsman, Sorcerer's Hyperborea, he did some thieving checks, right?
Yes.
My thief ran up. I said, I picked lock. He goes, what's your chance? And he said, this is what you get. He would narrate the result to me. Like, oh, I need to do this. I need to start doing that for these guys. I need to do that to make some of it a little more fun. So the other thing the guys found out, which they love, is D6 initiative for the group. And we do initiative every round. I don't know if everybody did that for first edition, but every round you rolled for initiative. You start off, you get surprised or not. So a D6 is
that's standard though, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And we've had a couple simultaneous. So they I killed the goblin, said Simo, oh fuck, bam, bam, bam. They still got their asses kicked. The goblin died, but he still hit the wizard or whatever happened, right? So a couple Simo things, and now it's like Alpha's a designated because he's got a really good dex, and he's a designated initiative guy. That's so Alpha. I got a 4. Come on, Alpha. All right, go. Ah, 3. Fuck. All right, bad guys go. Then the good guys go. Oh, yeah. And they love it when they get initiative. They got initiative one time, 3 times in a row. We get to go first. And it was a huge deal because they can back out of combat, come in. They could shoot arrows, stones, all this stuff. We're using Roll20, and we found out I didn't notice it first. Something was wrong. Zave's character had a sling. This little gnome's got a sling. He's doing a lot of damage. There's something wrong with that. Something's wrong. And finally, he did more damage. And finally, Nick goes, he does more damage with a sling than I do with a Morning Star. How the hell is that possible? So I opened up his character sheet, and he put a bonus in something he shouldn't. He's like, oh. And Zave turned like 5 shades red. He's like, I'm really sorry. I thought it was it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But, excuse me, the other thing, guys, the cool part about thieves, having secret thief stuff. You can't be a fighter who happened to have, a really good sleight of hand skill because you dump some points into it or something. It's specialized. Kind of the niche protection stuff is built in. A few of the guys are trying to figure out if they want a multi-class or dual class and so on. I said, those rules are tough. Look it up. I can help you figure it out, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're having fun. They really I think they like the narration. They like the different level up tracks, which is fun. And the initiative difference by group. One of the things that's the crew has found out is that from doing group initiative, and we've talked about initiative ages back, but while we're doing group initiative here, I'm like, okay, who wants to go first? At first, they were like, round the table. I just call out a name. Okay, Nick, what do you do? What do you do? And finally, hang on a second. I want to wait until he's done. And now they're starting to work together.
But doesn't it go missile magic melee?
I believe so.
In AD&D? Okay.
But we don't have a lot of magic yet. We don't have a wizard in the group.
Sure, okay.
Right? So we've got 1 cleric, 2 thieves, and a fighter right now. That's it. Right? So they don't have a lot of missile, not much magic, a lot of melee. Every once in a while somebody's flinging daggers, or they'll split the group up or whatever. But they're trying to pool their resources now. Like, hey, okay, I'm going to ride in here. You do this, you do that. I'll go in first. Missile fire here, great, and I'll follow up with a sword, blah, blah, blah. So they're trying, again, not only to narratively get advantage on different things, but also in combat to make sure that they don't fuck up, right? If you get initiative a couple times in a row, you're like, well, this is pretty good. The tide is on our side. And I'm also checking morale on some of the bad guys. The goblins, for instance. Fought some goblins the second time through. It was like back and forth. They whacked the one guy down, dumped a healing potion on the fighter. He's back up. After the second time the fighter went down, the goblins were like, yes! And they brought him back. Like, fuck. The goblins failed their morale check. I'm like, they bail. That's it. They run. So they capture one. They talk to him, But using morale, which is something I have talked about before on the show, we have too, monsters don't always fight to the death. And keeping that top of mind has also made it feel very AD&D to them. Like, using the phrase, yeah, they failed, their morale is broken. Yeah, they fail the morale check and they move. That term is like, oh, cool. We did a thing. There's a mechanic involved. Brett checked something and therefore X. And even if that something is all I've got down is like after 2/3 of the goblins die, the rest of them flee. Or if they can't win in 5 rounds, they break and run. They've passed something, some mechanic, some clock, some timer, something is a milestone has been reached, and the little buggers run. They're like, oh, that's great. And using that phrase has been huge to them, to the group. Whether they necessarily realize it or not, I can see the eyes light up on the cameras. We've broken the morale. A lot of these guys are Warhammer Fantasy and 40K players too. So when they morale break, you failed to check that when your army, when your group unit.
Yeah, they get off the table. They're done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other questions for me, Sean? I don't want to drag this.
Well, how come you nerfed all those other books, man?
The reason
Unearthed Arcana is a good book. That's a solid freaking supplement.
So the reason I want to nerf it was because I want to keep the group very focused. And just start with the basics. Now, if we lose some characters, or if there's a TPK, or I might bring in an NPC, that's a Cavalier, an NPC Barbarian, somebody's willing to train somebody, like, hey, you want a dual class? I can train you into this skill, or I can, something along those lines. And also with the Unearthed Arcana spells, I'm going to start dribbling those in as new spells that they find. Somebody has an armor spell or some of the cool stuff from Unearthed Arcana that isn't in the PHP. Putting that out there, when they find it, they're like, that's not in the player's handbook. I know. Oh, is that an Unearthed Arcana spell? Neat. Oh, that's a magic item. Where'd that one come from? Type of thing. The other thing I'm really looking forward to from the gear perspective is, as goofy as it sounds, shit like the Deck of Many Things. That random crazy piece of kit that you drop it out there, regardless of their level, it's fun. And it's a very first edition AD&D type of thing. You find gear, and sometimes the gear is more powerful than you are, or is campaign changing in some way or another, and just fucking roll with it. So that's why I nerf that stuff. I want to keep it simple. Make sure we just get the hardcore basics down first. Is how we're going to do this. And then start using the Unearthed Arcana stuff to dribble it as some new lore, right, that they find or discover somewhere.
So, Brett, this freaking campaign can't all be roses, unicorn farts. There's got to be some dog shit to it. Where's that lie? What's up with that?
So who's mad? Is that what you want to know?
Well, not necessarily who's mad, but there's got to be some drawbacks to some things that just don't work or are clunky or like your group isn't gelling on, or... I mean, it's easy to kind of say, well, if this stuff doesn't really, if this doesn't work, you just remove it as a house rule and go, I'm not going to do that. And
the descriptive piece that I think I probably belabored at the top of this was hard for a couple of them to get. Now that they got it, they seem to be okay. The other one that people are forgetting are the weapons rules.
So you're gearing to those?
Short sword, not speed and whatever, but damage types. So, it's man size medium. Is, short sword versus human, or smaller is D6, larger is D8. And like, wow,
that always
really?
played out. That's wacky, man. I forgot all about that.
And somebody figured out that they bought a bow. And I'm like, yeah. What's your rate of fire per round? 2. You could fire a bow twice a round, a sword's once a round. Oh, fuck, that's awesome. I gotta go get a bow. Where's my goddamn bow? So people have made some suboptimal choices at the beginning. And I
forgot about
because
those.
They forgot, even though they listened to me, we looked at the rules, but their brain hasn't transitioned, right? So they made some suboptimal purchases. Or they picked some suboptimal gear.
But Brett, their player characters would have known that.
No, they didn't. I let it go. I'm like, oh, too bad. You made a bad call. Well, if I'd have known that, well, no, just make some money and go get a bow. You'll be fine. God damn it. So there's a bit of, I would say, disgruntled in that space, but I think a couple of people are like, shit, I wish I would have known. Okay, fine. I said, your first level guys, this is a back to Greyhawk, first edition. We're going through this. I'm not trying to murder everybody right out of the gate. But they've also realized early on that they don't have a lot of hit points. And they get there. If you get hit by a zombie, he punches you once, you go down.
And they got zombie route, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just bad, right?
Make
and they're
save.
like, make your save. What do I have to roll? That or under? No, that or higher. It's a 16.
Yeah, some of those saves are terrible.
Saving throws are terrible in some of them.
God.
So what's happening is I think some of the group is starting to figure out, there was some grousing around the fact that I can't be heroic. It's a very broad phrase.
It's like
right?
they can't. I'm not effective because I'm
I feel
first level and screwed. Like
I feel ineffective. I feel like I can't, and so on.
yeah, fighter. I think spell save is like 17 at
It's
first
terrible,
level.
right?
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
So one of the things I'm doing though is that they're not. The undead lich isn't showing up and laying waste to the party. I'm being not kind, but from a balance perspective, the other thing I'm figuring out through this is like, oh, wow, 6 zombies is too many. six zombies will lay fucking waste to 4 dudes in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Even though the zombies go last, it doesn't
They
matter.
go last every time.
They
Yeah.
fuck you up.
Yeah.
But then I read cool things like, oh, skeletons, huh? Used edge weapons, they do half damage.
Right.
Oh, you use a piercing weapon like an arrow, 1 point of damage only.
Yeah,
That's
some
awesome.
of those subtle nuances when it comes to AD&D, and we touched on it a little bit at one point where it's like you got these weird rules that you think that's like the thing in the edition that you're playing, and then you realize, wait a minute, they got rid of that, in that edition or
and
whatever.
it has slowed us down because
That's like the backstabbing undead, surprising undead, some of that stuff
yes.
comes from AD&D, and then you go into like skeletons, like, oh, great, what weapon are you using? And I think some of that comes with, in 5e, it comes with, resistances and immunities.
Yeah, Nick's playing the cleric. He's like, I assume you're using weapon restrictions? I said, absolutely. No edged weapons. He's like, fine by me. I think that's cool. I want to do
Cleric?
that.
Yeah.
Yep, cleric.
No edged weapons. That's
He's totally fine. And we
Mace,
joke, and we
mace,
joke
mace.
because when's the last time you ever saw somebody hit with a flanged mace at high speed called that, not edged?
Right.
His teeth and blood go flying.
Yeah.
I'm sure that hurt.
Yeah, it's such a weird Gygaxian thing.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you don't want to cut their throat, but bashing their skull in is like perfectly
Totally legit,
acceptable. Yeah.
It's excuse me. I view that stuff as like these are the first attempts to maintain a balance or some sort of a normality to it, and blah blah blah. Whatever it is, what it is in that space, and the guys like it. But what I think is happening is like, well, what do you mean? That's how it works here.
What do you mean?
Oh, zombies always go last. Really? Yeah. And they
Congratulations.
They do some damage. Wow.
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay. You said he was a necromancer. That's what everyone called him. Well, is he high level or what's he doing? I don't know. He's just
so weird.
names matter, and it's
Yeah.
kind of.
Well, they got the titles for levels. Yeah.
And the guys look at him like, that's your title. And Zave's like, well, does that matter? And Alpha goes, you damn right it does. He said, you're a thief, man. Look at
Cut
your.
purse.
Are you a cut purse, a foot pad, or
Foot pad, cut purse.
Yeah, all that shit.
Yeah.
And Alpha's like, oh, that's awesome. I'm this. I've got this new title. And Zave's like, can I use that? So Zave leans in and says, well, can I use the title for something? I said, well, quite possibly. If you're talking to other people like in Thieves' Cant,
right,
and you say your rank, that matters. That's a level of experience, something you've to, well, that's interesting,
Right.
So they're digging through the character sheet, and
Do you have guys that have never
classes.
played AD&D?
Zave has played very little AD&D.
Okay.
He cut his teeth on Rollmaster of all weird things.
Right.
And then got into AD&D peripherally.
I
But a lot of it it's just so long.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think the downside where the turd in the punch bowl, and if you will, is a little bit of like, what the fuck does my character sheet do? They're like, wow, what's all this stuff mean? How do I use it again? I'm used to a 5e Pathfinder 3.0 Call of Cthulhu character sheet. They know where all that stuff, what it all means.
There's not a lot to it, man. It's like
There's not
your
much
little
to it.
get the yellow sheet, and it's like, what is you're armed with? Like like that's my weapon.
But something that says, what's your level plus your title? Like, well, does title matter? And they're like looking at this going, I don't have a lot of official data as what my character can do, right? So they're looking for skills.
Right.
So because they don't have that, now they're mining through the character sheet going, I'm a footpad, a robber, I'm a warlord, I'm a wizard, I'm a, whatever, clergy.
But they don't even have to do that. What I was trying to explain to Jeff, what is an Eldritch Knight in OSE?
It's just a fighter. Wizard.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You make it up. You pick fighter, magic user, you dual class,
Yes.
or you multi-class, and then you become known as, I am known as the Eldritch Knight.
Yes.
So
Lenny got into it big because he's a huge Greyhawk fan. Loves it. So he comes in and he's got a great backstory that he's playing off of. His character, learned the sword, figured this out, figured that out. So he's kind of bit of a sellsword, trying to make his way, wants to become maybe a knight, landowner. So he's got goals and things he wants to do. And the group is kind of, boy, the fighter shows up. He just starts giving orders. People, oh, thank God the fighter's here. They're just following him. And he gets hold of me. He's like, I'm not trying to run the group around. He said, but they kind of let me do it. I said, no, dude, it's perfect. The other characters just showed up. They were thrust together. You came in as an organized military person and said, all right, here's how we do this.
A martial character. Yeah.
Thank God he's here, right?
Right.
So
bring some order to this chaos band of bandits.
Yeah, two thieves in a clearing running around, stealing shit and healing people. They ain't doing the best. You're like, what do we do? Oh, thank God the fighter's here. He's got hit points, So people are looking now oh, the backstory matters. What do I want? How do I want to do this? And I think as they start to get gear, update their kit, they find more magic items and figure things out, it's going to be fun. And things are going to change, right? And I started doing a little bit, and then the title thing came up, and Nick reminded the group that in Alpha's Undermountain game, we killed the green dragon. My character delivered the killing blow, so my dwarf is like Dragon Slayer. That's my name.
Yeah. Do you? Is that XP for the last blow? Do you play that?
No, we don't.
Is that a rule? Was that a rule, or is that
was a
just
house
us?
rule? Yeah, whoever did the killing blow got more.
Killing blow got the most of the XP or whatever, right?
Could be. So, anyway, in the Undermountain game, I'm like Dragon's Bane. I am so and so Dragon's Bane.
Yeah, you're
because I killed the dragon.
You're the Dragon Slayer.
Yeah, but we were all there. Said if I were you, I'd take the same title. So we go to First Ed in Greyhawk, and they change titles. And Nick's like, hey, yeah, remember Brett's the Dragon's Bane in Alpha's game? I'm like, yeah, totally, use it, man. And they're like, wow, does that matter? Let's throw this title around a little bit and see if we get some extra, see if I get a free beer for it or whatever. So it's throwback, nostalgia, fun, but it's also kind of digging into some of the basics and go, what can I make with this? And that is the challenge the players have to me in my group is this character sheet has all the data in it. There's no look up what skill you have. There's no look this up. What do you get at level 5? There's not a lot. There's not much there.
No.
However, they all remember I had a character who was really cool. Yeah, it may have been high school. Yeah, it may have been in my 20s. But I know I can do something with this. Right? I can make this cool. To your point, when you're talking to Jeff, do you want to be a samurai? That's fine. Wear lacquered armor, lacquered banded armor, and a two-handed sword, single-edged. Done.
And live by a code.
You're done.
Live by a code,
you could be a cavalier, for God's sakes, whatever it is. You have a code. Be a paladin. Whatever
Cavalier
you want to
is
do.
a samurai. It's just in the Western culture, right?
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah.
So I told him that. I said, you make it. This is the core of who you are. But add the flavor to it. Well, what do you mean by that? So we get into it. I'm like, look, the flavor is yours to add. And it's taking a bit of time for them to get that. But as they go through it, Nick jumped on it pretty quick. His character had, he's a drinker, he had a bit of a rough start. He hooked up with Alpha's character, who's a thief. He's kind of running away from some trouble, But he's building on it. And Lenny comes in and doing the Lenny thing. And he's got a great background. He's got this stuff, and everybody else. Yep, that's cool. That's where the action is I'm making something of myself instead of waiting for the next ding, i.e. the level, to give me the next thing. I have to make something of myself. I could be kick-ass even at first level, or pretend I am, or whatever it is. So anyway, does that make sense?
Yeah, it's funny how you get you limit the options, but it broadens their horizons. Versus,
because
like, here's Pathfinder, like you could grab this and grab that and have archetype and and it's like, oh, I could grab feats and then then it's
a motherfucker to be a power gamer in First Ed, man. Unless you're cheating, you got to be a fucking cheater to do it.
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah, there's no question about that.
We roll 46, take the highest 3, and I let them do it twice. They roll
in
one
order.
They roll one set of stats, another set of stats. You have to choose one complete block.
In order, though.
No, you can do whatever you want with it.
So so you run them two arrays, but you can assign them any way you want.
Anywhere you want to.
Okay, that's pretty flexible. That's pretty nice.
Fairly flexible, which allowed them to pick like, hey, I have enough, I could be a paladin. I have enough, I could be this.
Well, that allows you to make some prereqs for some of those classes.
It made some prereqs, and a couple guys like, hey, Zave's like, wait a minute, I get a 10% bonus on XP. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Hey, don't forget, cleric man, you got to donate some of that stuff.
Yeah, cleric's he's already tithing. He's already finding churches and giving away money. He's doing it.
Oh,
it's good. It's
funny.
good. And like you said, I think I've taken something away. You and I talked about this, like, hey man, let's just play 5e and pull the damn stats off, or pull the skills away from it, or something. We're kind of talking is like, what would we do? What are we missing? And like, I do have a game that does that, and that's my first edition stuff. Second does it to a point too, but second has secondary skills, proficiencies. Yeah. The other thing the guys found out too in first edition is like, oh, are you proficient in that weapon? Well, what do you mean? There's weapon proficiencies.
Yeah, you get a -4?
Yeah. And like, oh my God, I'm first level. That's like a minus forever. That's like a don't fucking hit anybody.
Yeah, you've come across that weapon and it's like, oh, bastard sword. Ooh. Oh, I can't use it.
Oh, you can. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Right.
Yeah, clumsy oaf.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not good at Morningstar. Clunk. Ow, I hit my head.
Yeah.
But it's kind of took stuff away, added limitations, added, just a different array of things. And now they're figuring out, how do I make cool shit happen with this stuff? I told Zave this, and I said, he was a cook. He's an amazing cook. And he's cooked professionally before in restaurants and stuff. And not like, big 5-star restaurants or anything, but he's a hell of a good cook.
Yeah.
I said, it's kind of like walking into a kitchen, and I said, look, I got a pound of salt, I got this, and this. Can you make something? Well, I can make bread, I can do this and this. That's what you're looking to do here. What can you make out of this? Right? It's don't worry about how do I improve this so that it becomes something cool. No, make this cool. Make this thing in front of you cool, because this is the horse you're going to ride.
Now everybody wants to play AD&D.
I hope so. By God. I love it. It's a fun game. I'm having a good time with it.
So I know that you shuffle around like pretty frequently, Brett. Is this like, do you have a timeline for duration or length of this campaign? Or what? Do you have a story arc, and then once the story's done?
Yeah, I know what I want to do. I don't want to. All right, so I have a box set I've been dying to pull out and run the adventure through. I don't want to name it, because if one of the guys listens to it, they're going to be like, oh,
there's probably Nick or somebody who listens.
Somebody's listening. Somebody's listening. Nick probably is a jerk.
Yeah.
Love you, Nick. Anyway.
I think you're a nice guy, Nick.
You Army guys stick together. Anyway, I want to take him to a pretty high level, if I can.
What's pretty high? 12th?
I want to take him.
Ninth level's really high in AD&D.
No, I want to see if we can get to the teens. If they can get high enough where they don't die, if they get teens, I got a treat for them.
That's magic users dropping some big nukes.
Yes.
At teen level. Holy cow.
Yeah, I want to see if I can get everybody up in the teens and see if we can make this work. This could be fun.
So are they all human or demi-human? What are they? Did you put in the limit levels or the level limits?
Yeah.
Limit levels.
Yeah.
Did you?
So we've got
if you're elf, you're done at, I think, 9th, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it depends what you do. So we've got 1 half-elf and a gnome and 2 humans.
Yeah, a gnome and 2 humans and a half-elf. Okay.
I think what's going to end up happening is they're either going to, somebody at some point is going to say, can I make a second character?
Right. They're going to get to the top and be like.
Which is fine, because somebody's like, I wish I had a wizard with us. We don't have a wizard. Well, should we get one? Now.
And I think their hit points are like 1 + 1, 1 + 2.
Yeah, they're terrible.
At
they're
like that level. Yeah.
They're not that good. But I got some high level, teens type shit to throw at them. I think could be a lot of fun. So we'll see what happens.
Well, sounds fantastic. We're looking forward to it, Brett. You have to
Cool,
give us
man.
updates.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun throwback, but I'll tell you, man, a lot of the things that you and I've talked about over the last 6 years, I really needed to kind of dig into. Talk about the narration stuff, making failure fun, all of that shit we've talked about. Really, for whatever reason, it's just boom right to the front with this this old school game, because it's not in it, right? It's not designed as elegantly as some of our more quote unquote modern games, better games,
Yeah, there's some
whatever you want to say.
clunky crap in that old stuff, man. I'm like,
Sure
what
is.
the hell? How do we play this shit? You know, but
Yep.
it was fun. I mean, it got me in the hobby and I loved it. But
Yep.
it's looking back, it's kind of like, ooh, goodness gracious.
Why would I do that?
Yeesh.
But I tell you what, man, once you've been away from something like that, and if you had a good time with it,
Yeah.
and I said, hey, Sean, you want to play some AD&D? I bet you'd be like, fuck yeah, I'll play that. Sure, yeah.
I mean, I played OSC with Hobbs. You know, he's, OSC, man, that brought back some memories. It's a little different, but
Yeah, but
AD&D, man, is like, I started reading my PHB, it was a few years ago, and I went,
I try to read that
whoa.
cover to cover and understand and learn how to play the game. Not going to happen.
Wow. I was
But
like,
that's
man.
why I tell people if you want to do it from scratch, you pick up Ozric and read that.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that's a better way to learn AD&D and so on. But anyway. Oh, infravision. The other thing the guys figured out is infravision.
Infravision, yes.
And not dark vision. None of that. There's infra, ultra, right? You see infravision, heat and cold.
Ultravision.
It's different, man. And they're like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And when you explain to somebody when the person with their infravision's on watch and they see a large hot blob walking towards them, they react differently than you see a bear. Right? A bear's
Right.
a different thing. A large blob of heat and orange and reds and yellows lumbering towards you, snuffing the ground. That's freaky. Versus you see a bear. Oh, it's a bear. I'll just be quiet and it'll go away. You see?
Infravision.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anyway, man, let's move on. That was
All
fun.
right, let's get into die roll.
I do
Die roll.
appreciate letting me to indulge myself.
Yeah,
there. Thank
man. 2d4 miscellaneous points of gaming and geekery you want to share with you. First one, World Builder's Notebook by Swordfish Islands. Thanks, Mike, for pointing that out and writing in for that. So if you're a big notebook, journal kind of person, and you want to grab one, it comes in like hex, squares,
Oh, cool.
all kinds of different stuff. So that's something to pick up if you want a journal. And hey, it's the holidays, folks. Buy some stuff, especially now. People need some help.
Yeah.
Voicemod.net. Change your voices when you game. I know somebody in our Discord posted something that is probably similar to this. It works on Windows. It's coming to Mac and Linux supposedly. But you could tweak lots of, like, you can tweak pitch, you could tweak reverb and echo and all kinds of stuff. So
For this online gaming world we live in.
yes, and you
Boom.
could plug it into Discord. Like, it's
Nice.
pretty easy that way. So, I was looking at it and thought, wow, it'd be perfect if guy or gal was playing a droid character because they could
Yeah. You could
robot it out.
Yep. Could robot it out. That's cool, man.
So check that out. It's free. We'll have a link in the show notes. Jerry Stefik, Crawl for the Cure for Mr. Welch and the gang. So we'll have a link. So if you want more details on who to tune in and where to find more information about that, proceeds going to the Cancer Society. Last one, Campfire, which is something VC dropped. I thought we put that in there when we had those tools for.
I don't remember it, though.
I thought it was, but it's not. I can't find it on the
Okay.
website. So we help writers imagine, plan, and tell their stories. So, it's a good, it's a good kind of campaign thing. I don't think it's system based, but
No, it's establishing ideas and settings, world building 101. It's that idea of how to get organized. Because you've got all these really cool ideas about a thing you want to do. How do I do something with it? Right?
right.
Very cool. Thank you, VC. Very good stuff.
And then I think that is it for this week.
Sweet, man.
Brett, I know. Okay, so you got the. I just pasted that in there twice. What are we talking about next week, dude?
We're talking about healing up.
Healing up.
Yeah.
I'm healing up. gonna let you show. I'm healing up.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm healing.
All right, we'll talk about it next
I'm
time.
gonna get a DMCA takedown notice because of my awesome.
Probably.
So okay, well, we'll talk off air about
Yeah,
that. Brett's
talk off air.
moving. He's got surgery going on. I don't know what December looks like, but healing
I'm
up on the
busy.
next one.
God damn it.
Thanks for everybody that joined us this evening. It's always a pleasure to see folks drop in the chat. And if you can
Absolutely.
make it, that would be great. If you can't, just subscribe to the podcast. Otherwise, we televise here live and record this on Mondays at 8 p.m. Central Time for all the fun. And then on YouTube, if you find this, go ahead and like and subscribe. Otherwise, for Gaming and BS, I'm Sean.
And I'm Brett. Good night, good game and all.
This has been a Litterbox Studio production.